Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe Up, episode 207 of the show, where I share my opinions on current events, things that are going on in the world. I talk about them. I share what my brain thinks of those things. And then I put this online for people to argue and cry and say how wrong I am or ignorant or whatever. Usually a lot of racist people yelling at me or misogynistic people or conservatives, like a lot of the kind of people in society that like to vocalize their hate, that have been empowered to be hateful ever since the last Orange Jesus was president. Running for president is really when he opened the door for people to just openly be assholes to everybody else. But let's get it started, shall we, with the first story. A little sad news, especially for me, especially for anybody that loved hip-hop in the 90s. The one and only Coolio has passed away, which I'm sure everybody at this point knows. I would assume they know. This is a artist that I loved in the 90s when he came out. Gangsta's Paradise, obviously, was the smash hit that got me into it. I remember I wasn't allowed to listen to hip-hop, to rap, really. I mean, especially gangster rap. Gangster rap was the thing that was scaring all the parents at the time. And I was able to, of course, listen to Vanilla Ice. Of course, white rappers were okay, seemingly. And even MC Hammer, I was allowed to listen to MC Hammer because he was more of a pop type of rapper. He wasn't really, he wasn't into the trend of the time of gangster rap. So I was allowed to listen to a couple artists in that genre, but in general, I believe Coolio was kind of the big one that I encountered some pushback on when I got the Coolio album. I remember specifically trying to argue that it was okay because Gangsta's Paradise was gangstas. It wasn't gangster, it was gangstas. It worked, I guess. I don't know. It's really mind-boggling how you're able to convince conservative parents. It wasn't even just my mom. It was my friend's mom as well, who was very active in the church and all of that. So whatever. The argument worked, and I was able to listen to it. He wasn't actually my first. The first hip-hop artist, which I wouldn't say is gangster rap, and I don't even know how much Coolio was actually gangster rap either, like Tupac or Biggie. I would say those are definitely more gangster rap. But the first hip-hop album that was not MC Hammer and was not Vanilla Ice was Skee-Lo, known for I Wish I Was a Little Bit Taller. Very popular song of the time. It was summer vacation. I listened to the radio is how I got most of my music. Just listening. There was a couple radio stations, and one of the radio stations was alternative, and they changed formats to being R&B and hip-hop. And my goal for this summer was to call in. They had radio contests all the time where you call in and you can win prizes. And my goal for that summer was to call in and win a prize, to win a radio contest. And I did. One day I called the radio station all the time. I would call and request songs, and then when they came on, I would hit record on the cassette deck that was part of the radio, and that's how that's before Napster, before streaming services. You would request songs from the radio station, and hopefully they will play the song you request. So I would call the radio stations all the time, but my goal was to win a competition. I won a competition, and they gave me a coloring book for SeaWorld, which the sound of depression and sadness in my voice made the disc jockey, who clearly knew I was a child at the time, I was probably like 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. Was not happy. Was not happy with the coloring book. They decided to give me a cassette of Skee-Lo, who was the popular artist with the hit song "I Wish," which I was happy about that. Of course, I had to convince my mom to drive to the radio station to pick up the cassette for me, but it was a cassette that I listened to all the time. But the first CD that I got, that I think I spent money on, was Coolio, because of Gangster's Paradise. And many other songs. Fantastic Voyage was another one. He had a few hits on MTV at the time. He was fun, too. He had the crazy hair. He was honored by having one of his songs, Gangsta's Paradise, parodied by Weird Al Yankovic, which apparently they had a bit of friction because of that, because Coolio didn't realize what an honor it was to have your song parodied by Weird Al. I think later on they became friends and buried the hatchet, as it were. But yeah, just a guy. And then more recently, he appeared on a fun internet show that I love called Hot Ones, where famous people come on and try to eat 10 spicy, increasingly more spicy wings with spicy hot sauce as they're being interviewed, which is a great interview show. I think Sean Evans is the host, asks great questions, and Coolio's appearance on that show was pretty historic, I would say, in the pantheon of guests that have been on that show. And just somebody that's kind of been in the zeitgeist ever since the 90s, never really hit the same highs as he did, always well respected. He was just kind of a guy that everybody loved. Right? Gangsta's Paradise to this day is still a great song. So many of his songs, after hearing of his passing, I went back and listened to a bunch of his songs, used a bunch of his songs for my painting videos when I post those up on social media. It's just, he seemed like a really fun guy, right? Just a solid dude, solid artist, and just a good guy. There was never really any, that I could remember, any real drama with him. There's no real negative press of his that I can remember. Not that I was too plugged into that sort of thing, but a shame to see. Passed away at 59. From what I hear or heard, it was due to cardiac problems, like heart problems. So, I mean, a lot of things can contribute to that. Maybe drug use growing up. Maybe he did a lot of cocaine when cocaine was very popular. Who knows? Could be congenital. Could be, something that's part of his family history of having heart issues. Who knows? But 59, very young for somebody who seemed to be in good shape, at least when he was on Hot Ones. I mean, but you never know. You never know. But sad to see him go. Out of so many people that seem to be dying. A lot of musicians and actors and kind of celebrities of my generation are kind of starting to go, and it's sad. It's sad, and I think it's a thing where I think his best work he had already done, and thankfully it will live forever. We'd always be able to go listen to a Coolio song and kind of bring that back, or watch his interviews, all the things that are online. So we're living in a time that even though a lot of these celebrities are dying, that we can kind of revisit all the things that they did throughout their career and enjoy it and kind of remember them. So rest in peace, Coolio. You will be missed. And it would have been amazing to see a comeback for him. It would have been amazing. And maybe there was, and I'm just, outside of all the things that go on in that world. But either way, Coolio was amazing, and rest in peace. I want to take a quick break from the show to let you all know that there is official merch for the Ray Taylor Show. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com. You can get t-shirts, different artwork available, different designs, all on high quality materials. in all the sizes. There's also iPhone cases made of biodegradable material. That's right. This is not bad for the environment. This is good for the environment. So all of those designs that are available on t-shirts are also available on phone cases. Designed by me, sold by me. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com to support The Ray Taylor Show and promote it out in the world so all of the people in your life can see that you are a fan of The Ray Taylor Show. Now, let's get back to that very show right now. So let's move on to something kind of right out of a Roland Emmerich film. NASA spaceship has struck an asteroid in a historic test. So apparently NASA was testing out just for future knowledge if asteroid was suspected to collide with the world, the globe that we live on called Earth. They wanted to test out preventative methods to keep an asteroid from potentially ending life on this planet or causing massive destruction. Small asteroids kind of burn up in our atmosphere and land every once in a while, but and the moon catches a lot of asteroids. There's a lot of things that kind of protect us from being having to suffer extinction in that form. But interesting that they're doing tests on trying to, which is not, kind of good to hear, but also, we heard about this after the fact. And I'm sure with so many things going on in the world, so much unrest, climate change, regime changes, potential, dictatorship for the United States if certain political parties get back in power, just like complete elimination of civil and human rights, wars constantly going on, just a lot of crazy things are happening in general. So if there was an asteroid that was going to be colliding with the planet and it was going to be a dangerous situation, I could see them able just completely keeping that secret from everybody. And we wouldn't know until after they were successful, or, things would just end. We would just realize that we would find out when it's way too late to do anything. Not that we could do anything. If it was a big enough asteroid, there's really nothing you can do. You're not going to go into a bunker. You're not going to go fly to some other country to avoid, right? It's really just like, prepare to see what happens after you die. But it's kind of, it feels good that NASA's around. There's other space agencies. I mean, this is something that would impact the civilization of humans on Earth as a whole. So, it's something that all countries would be, kind of benefiting from, avoiding an asteroid colliding into Earth. So it's nice that they're doing testing, coming up with ideas, preventative measures to avoid an asteroid destroying life on this planet. But so let me read this. A NASA spacecraft has smashed into an asteroid as part of a mission to protect Earth. The U.S. Space Agency launched an unmanned rocket at the asteroid named Dimorphos to demonstrate how incoming rocks can be destroyed. Dimorphos, which was 560 feet wide, posed no threat to the planet, but other rocks could be dangerous in the future. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good. It's good that they're, somebody at NASA watched Armageddon and they're like, well, maybe we should be ready. Maybe we should be prepared. It's kind of weird. Like, this can't be the first time they've thought of maybe we should be prepared. Armageddon came out in like 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, right? That was like over 2 decades ago. Armageddon came out. And it's not like Armageddon was the first movie to pose the idea. I mean, we knew about the dinosaurs and how they got taken out. So it's like, I wonder how many other tests they've done 'Cause I can't imagine this is the first test. Either way, I'm glad they're testing things out. I'm glad that somebody's out there trying to protect. If climate change doesn't destroy humanity first. I don't know. It's a weird time we're living in where a potential asteroid apocalypse isn't the worst thing that could be happening. But anyway, let's move on. Some good news. The FDA has approved a new drug to fight ALS, and it was partially funded by the Ice Bucket Challenge. About a decade ago, remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? I remember being challenged on the podcast I was doing way back in the day. I believe it was Adriel Restrepo, an artist out of Florida, challenged myself and Keith to the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we failed. I don't think I know we didn't end up doing it, but it was a viral sensation that raised a lot of awareness, a lot of money apparently, and part of that money went to funding this research. In the 2014 viral trend, I can't believe that was 2014. I thought it was before that. The 2014 viral trend, so almost a decade ago, raised $115 million to fight ALS. Of the money, $2.2 million was put towards funding the study. So out of $115 million, only $2.2 million was put towards funding the study that tested the newly approved medication Relivrio, according to the ALS Association. The association also credits the challenge for funding research that helped scientists in 2016 discover a gene called NEK1 that has been linked to ALS. Quote, the approval of AMX 0035 is further proof of how the Ice Bucket Challenge dramatically accelerated the fight against ALS. End quote. Calanet Ballas, president and CEO of the ALS Association, said in news release, quote, since then we've seen new genes discovered, new assistive technology developed to help people living with ALS, and far more people living with ALS have access to care service than ever before. So it did a lot of good things. ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a neurodegenerative disease that causes people to lose the ability to move, speak, and eventually breathe. There is no cure for the disease, and on average, people die within 5 years of their diagnosis. Pete Frates, the man who helped make the Ice Bucket Challenge fundraiser go viral, died from ALS in 2019 at the age of 34. There was a podcast I used to watch and listen to called Kill Tony, and one of their regular comics they would have on, I'm forgetting his name, but he had ALS, and I remember a little after I stopped watching the show, he had to leave because it was becoming more difficult for him to speak. Kind of sounded drunk. Great sense of humor. Great strength about him. I wish I could remember his name. It's been a while since I've watched that show. I had to stop. Politically, the show changed a lot. Let's put it that way. During the pandemic, which is similar to a lot of comedians, apparently, a lot of comedians just started leaning into right-wing stuff. And, it's a bummer. I was a big fan of the show and was a big fan of that comedian as well, of all of their regulars that they've had on over the years. But I remember when he finally left, it was sad. And I don't know, he might not even be alive anymore. Because that was, he was on there for I think over a year. And I think he had it for a few years, and his background was in improv and stuff like that. He was a writer. He was, he was doing the comedy thing way before Kill Tony, and just a kind of a sad disease to see destroy people. But good thing, it's nice to see dumb viral trends doing good in the world, right? It's good to see that, like, the Ice Bucket Challenge didn't just raise a bunch of money for somebody to run off with the money, right? Like so many charities do, right? This actually went to something to actually further research and potentially, do even more, develop a drug to help people. Let's take a little break from the show to promote. I have Inspired Disorder Plus. Would you feel good about donating $5 a month to an artist that you want to support? $5 a month is not much, less than a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. A lot of people would probably say, yeah, Inspired Disorder Plus, people can go, and for $5 a month or $50 for the year, you get access to all of the old podcasts that I've ever done, like 10 different podcasts, hundreds of podcast episodes. You also get access to like special deals. So if you do want to collect my artwork, you get discounts on stuff. Watch this show, binge the full week ad-free for $5 a month. Like, you get benefits for the $5 a month or $50 a year. So it's not like you're just donating $5. There's something, you get something for that. Would you feel good about donating $5 a month to an artist that you want to support? A lot of people would probably say, yeah. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. And now let's get back to the show. Let's move on to the last and final story. Not that long ago, Bruce Willis announced his retirement from film because of a disease, a condition that he had that made it impossible for him to do a lot of things, recognize faces, I think recall scripts and things, and it just made acting impossible for him. So he had to step away. And this is kind of some new, historically new, especially in the acting world. Bruce Willis has become the first Hollywood star to sell rights to a deepfake firm after retiring from acting earlier this year. And this is kind of weird. Because, I mean, we've seen this happen in movies and commercials where people who have died, Bruce Willis still with us, but just no longer able to perform, no longer able to act. But now a company will be able to use his likeness, use his image and voice to superimpose him into movies. So he can still star in movies digitally. But what we've seen in movies like Star Wars, where there's actors who have died and they use a CGI version of the actor to reprise their role in a franchise, which I think that's shady. You've seen people like Fred Astaire, and I think selling vacuums. Of course, there was the hologram Tupac that showed up at Coachella. Like, we've seen versions of this where people who have died, their likeness and their character has been used in different things, which is very weird. Like, for a lot of reasons, it's really weird. Like, just weird using somebody who's dead, using them to sell a thing, to do a thing that they may never have approved to do, like selling vacuums. And I don't know if it was Fred Astaire or not, but, there's been a lot of versions of this. And it's not surprising that actors would, because that's the future. The future is not only just deep fakes, but just selling. I've heard stories of actors getting full body scans over the years for them to compile a catalog of their digital self over the years so that in the future they can license that out. I mean, definitely for an actor to be able to kind of generate income after they retire, or for whatever happened for their family later on to be able to continue making money, but just also other revenue streams. I mean, if you're an actor today and you are able to compile these digital assets of yourself, live body scans, voice things, you're able to archive those things while you're still alive, while you're still performing, then you can like license those things out to do roles that are smaller or to do like commercials and things that you wouldn't want to spend time. Like you can bring in money that doesn't require you to put a full performance, put all of your artistic ability into a performance like a commercial and get extra money without having to do the work. It's almost like for an artist selling prints of your work versus selling originals, right? These actors are able to sell like prints of themselves, sell like clones of themselves to be in things that bring in smaller amounts of money but have like kind of almost that you know, that revenue stream that you're not just like an automatic revenue stream that you're not physically putting work into. You're not actively putting work into. It's just an interesting time we're living in. And as far as all the actors to do, it makes sense that Bruce Willis would do it because he's not like, if he didn't have whatever disorder or illness that he has, he would still be acting. I mean, the dude was in tons of movies, not many of which not very good, but like he was working. He was definitely putting himself out there in as many movies as possible. So, and still a beloved actor in a lot of ways. Still somebody that could sell a movie in a lot of ways, even though a lot of the movies he was in were kind of B movies, straight to video kind of stuff, straight to streaming, whatever. So it's a situation that makes sense because he's not dead, but his ability to act is no longer there. It's no longer an option. So this is kind of a way for him to still make money without having to actually do the work. Just very interesting. It's just like a big gray area. It's just a huge gray area. And there's a similar story with James Earl Jones signing off the licensing to Disney in order for Star Wars to use his voice as Darth Vader. Like, he doesn't want to have to read the scripts anymore. He doesn't want to have to perform in those movies anymore. So he signed his voice, made a deal, and signed the rights to his voiceover for them to use his, probably in perpetuity after he passes away. The voice of Darth Vader will continue on as James Earl Jones. But that's like, should it? Like, there's nothing wrong with like changing an actor for a performance. It's like, do we need Darth Vader in Star Wars movies in perpetuity? There's like no other stories to tell in this universe, this fictional. It's always got to be about Luke, Leia, Darth Vader. It's like just about these few characters. It's like very minimal, the scope of Star Wars. I think they've started branching out. It's just it's one of the most overrated franchises, I would say. There's so many disappointing movies in that franchise. It's insane. But it's owned by Disney. So they'll just keep squeezing and squeezing out every last dollar until it's exhausted, and then they'll just put it on hold for a decade or two and then bring it back. But yeah, interesting news from Bruce Willis. Interesting to see what his deepfake shows up in. You know? Maybe we'll see the deepfake Bruce Willis in commercials soon. Or even it'll be interesting to see the first like role that his likeness gets, right? Movie starring Bruce Willis's likeness. Interesting. And it'll be interesting where that money, like, did he get paid up front or does he get residuals every time his likeness is used? I don't know. Interesting time we're living in with technology and performances and content and acting and all that. But anyway, let's do some shout-outs and get out of here, shall we? Shout-out to KTLA 5 News. Shout-out to Pubbity. Shout-out to BuzzFeed News. And shout-out Movie Facts. But most importantly, shout-out to you.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at InspiredDisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at InspiredDisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out! bitch!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.